Come on then, come on. Oh dear, oh dear. Nice cup of tea. Hello, well this is a vlog that you may not have expected. You can probably tell by the title that yes, I have quit full-time touring, and you may have never ever have guessed one day that you'll be seeing a vlog of me vlogging from a house. Yes, a real house. There are bricks, mortar, tiles on the roof, windows, walls, all that kind of thing. Yes, we are back in a house. So why are we back in a house, and what does that mean to you, both as a viewer of this channel and also if you are considering full-time touring in your caravan or motorhome or even in your van? So if you've been watching this channel for quite a while, you'll know that I strive to be authentic, genuine, real and honest with you, and I felt I need to explain to you why, after 7 years permanently on the road, I felt the need to come back to a house. So I've actually been full-time touring on and off for about 20 years, but as I said, most recently for 7 years straight off, or nearly 8 years since February 2012, and I've been staying in my Airstream, and for 5 years I was working on the railway, and that worked really well. And then for the past 2.5 years, I've been, as you know, making YouTube videos all about our adventures, wherever we go and whatever vehicle we're in. So we've literally been traveling non-stop for over 2 years now. So there are actually two aspects to this life that I wanted to talk about with you. And they are, number one, the nomadic lifestyle, and number two, living in a van, because they're actually two different things. We're going to start off with number one, the nomadic lifestyle. Now, a while ago, I did make a video all about what I perceive to be some of the challenges of van life, and I'll link to that in the description below. And in that, I talked about a few issues that we're going to touch on now. But overwhelmingly, if you are moving, traveling all the time, it is exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. So while there probably are people that really truly are nomadic and they really can't let the grass grow under their feet, I don't think that really applies to many of us. Most of us do like some kind of stability or just space to breathe and space to get used to your surroundings. And if you are constantly moving at least twice a week, which we generally have, it is absolutely exhausting. So that's the nomadic lifestyle, this constant moving around. And if you are, again, maybe I spend too much time in my head, but if you are a reflective person, but maybe a bit introverted, you need time to process. You need time to process the beauty of what you're seeing, and you need time sometimes to come to terms with it. And for the past 2 years, we have been having so much fun, seeing so many amazing places, but we never get the chance to stay there. We're always tearing off and doing the next thing. And that inability to process is a bit like a child or a baby who's learning and it's their birthday and all these people come around and they have all this stimulation, and what do they need after that? They need a nap, basically to process everything and then start again. Well, we've kind of hit that time now where it's time to basically take a big nap and process everything. So that's why we're sort of giving up the nomadic lifestyle. And then second to that is also the aspect of living in your vehicle, whether that's a caravan, motorhome, or in your van. And most importantly of all, when you're living in your caravan or your motorhome or your van, that vehicle is your home. And that can create actually quite a bit of loneliness in itself, because acquaintances, people you know, they don't really get it, they don't get what you're doing, and it can make you feel a bit alone. Also companies, so if something goes wrong with your van and you need to take it in, you've got all the stress of emptying all your stuff out of the van. But what can be more frustrating is when it comes to repairs or servicing, anything like that. It can just be so frustrating when you get mucked around. You may have made so many arrangements to take your van in on a certain day, and then the dealer or the service centre might ring you up and say, actually no, we haven't got the part. Bring it in the following week. Because for most people, it doesn't matter, it's their leisure vehicle, it's off season, they can take it the next week. But when it's your home and someone has let you down, whether it's a supplier or a dealer or a service centre, that can impact your life hugely, because it's your home and people just don't get it. There's also the other aspect that many people who choose van life or full-time touring are still in employment. We still have to work, whether that's contracting, whether that's on a building site, whether that's as a site warden, you still have to work. And it can be a little bit isolating that so many people perceive your life as one long holiday. And again, that could just be a bit annoying, a bit frustrating. So be prepared for that if you have to work while you're still enjoying van life. But most importantly of all, if you're going to do this, have a plan B. Have somewhere to go if your van breaks down. If someone steals, I mean, could you imagine if someone stole it? You must have a plan B, somewhere to go. And then of course the other issue then is that if, say for example, you're contracting and your plan B is your daughter's house in Sheffield and you've got a contract in Edinburgh, that's not gonna be very useful. So you must have a plan B, but sometimes even plan B doesn't work out. So again, as much as you have this wonderful Instagram image of perfection of van life, full-time touring, it can be quite challenging. It can be hard work. It's great fun and I wouldn't stop anyone from doing it, but just be aware of these challenges and they can get tiring. Oh, that was a nice cup of tea, that. Now, one of the reasons that we have, or I've decided to come back to bricks and mortar is that we've had a fantastic time over the past couple of years, but I have a real problem saying no to exciting jobs or exciting proposals. So when Airstream say, do you want to go to the south of Spain and Portugal? Who's going to say no to that? But the trouble is, it's on top of going to Italy with Etrusco, and that was on top of going to Scotland, and that was on top of, and everything's just been on top of each other, and I just haven't had that time to process stuff. So things have been building up over the past year, and then a lot of you will know that my Airstream has, for one reason or another, been off the road for about a year now, whether that's because we were doing a loan of other vehicles or because of the cracked axle that came to light this summer, I did get told off for off-roading in the Outer Hebrides for that. But because of this, we've been using different loan vehicles. But the problem there is that sometimes these loans get cancelled or they move the goalposts. Now, interestingly enough, as I'm filming this at the end of October 2019, I am meant to be in another caravan next weekend. That was cancelled yesterday because the caravan has got to go back for further development. So thankfully, I'm in my house. It doesn't matter. If I was relying on that loan for somewhere to live, the stress that causes is phenomenal. And this happened in the spring when one of the loan caravans had to go back a bit early. I had to do some juggling and I had a meltdown. On the 1st of April 2019, I had a bit of a meltdown. I couldn't get out of bed. I was in a really poor state. However, I have some really, really, really amazing friends. And I could send a couple of texts to say, I need a chat. And boom, they were straight on the phone. And it was at that point I realized I needed to come back to a house to some kind of stability, somewhere I could go to when it all went wrong. And that's when I took the necessary action to come back to bricks and mortar, and we eventually moved in August of this year. So that was the end of 7.5 years of full-time touring. And you know what? This is one thing that people don't think about when they think, yeah, we're going to sell up and move into a van. Every part of life has a shelf life. And that includes full-time touring or van life. And for me, that shelf life this time round was about 7.5 years. So as much as it's exciting to think, oh, we're going to go full-time touring, we're going to go and live in a van, no one really thinks about the end of it. No one thinks, well, what if we get ill? Or what if something goes wrong? And I don't want to fill your head with doubts, but everything generally has a natural shelf life. So as much as it might be a little bit painful and take the edge off of all the excitement of moving into a van, do just think, well, what if we hate it? What if it all goes wrong? What if someone gets very ill and we have to come home? So do think about that. Everything has a shelf life, and that includes full-time touring. It's not a popular viewpoint, but it's a very important one. However, I just wouldn't dissuade anyone from trying it, because it's also a great opportunity to declutter and get rid of all your stuff. Because if you have the choice, if you're lucky enough to own your own home, then your big choice is, do I rent this home out or do I sell it? Well, obviously everyone's circumstances are different, but I would say my preference would be, if you own your own home, would be to rent it out. Now you might be thinking, oh, but I don't want other people living in my house. Well, guess what? It's not your house. It's just a house. And to come back after a few years, you can very quickly turn it back into your home by quick decorating, spruce up, maybe some new furniture. That brings me on to another thing. Don't be tempted to just throw everything into storage, because if you do, for example, this time we've been 7 years, but maybe you'll be 5 years, maybe you'll be 2 years, but you might not want to come home to the same furniture because someone else has used it, or it's just not nice anymore. It's not, I mean, when I moved back into this room, it was magnolia. And I thought, no, it's white. I want white now. So I painted it white. Very trendy. Minimalists, I think they call us. So it's a great opportunity to declutter and get rid of all your stuff. And that's one thing that I'm really, really grateful to full-time touring for, was to learn how little stuff to live with. However, again, when you're full-time touring, you're still carrying everything with you. And sometimes you would want something that's in the car, and then it's underneath something else, and it's raining and you've got to go outside and get it from the car. And then, for example, things like camera gear, hard drives, all this kind of thing, they had to be in the car because they had to be dry. However, I couldn't carry them in the caravan because of the weight issue, but in the car there was the security issue. So if I left it in the car park, it meant taking all that stuff out of the car, putting it in the caravan. So all these things I don't have to worry about anymore, because I can just leave them at home, which is fantastic. But back to decluttering, if you do want to get rid of your stuff to go full-time touring, I heartily recommend the YouTube channel Break the Twitch. My dear friend Anthony and his lovely wife Amy takes you through a lot of decluttering and the processes. Anthony and Amy have just moved lock, stock and barrel from Minneapolis to Phoenix, so do check them out. I'll leave a link to Break the Twitch in the description below, and if you are serious about decluttering and why you should declutter or want to declutter and what to do with your stuff, please check out Break the Twitch in the description below. Now, it was because I knew I was coming back to a home that I could actually then indulge something I'd always wanted to do, well, for many years, and that was get a vintage caravan. So I actually got Glynis, my vintage Sprite, in the June, because I knew I was coming back to a house in April. So I bought Glynis in June when I came down south for my auntie's 90th birthday. And thank goodness, what a wonderful coincidence that was, because as a lot of you will know, 1 week after picking up my Airstream, I had the issue of the cracked axle being discovered. Now, again, if I was living in it at the time, I don't know what I would have done, because Glynis, I love her to bits, but now the weather's getting colder and wetter, Glynnis isn't really a viable option for full-time touring. I mean, you can live in anything, we know that, but if you want to keep your sanity, then it's not really a viable option. So that was another great thing about coming back to bricks and mortar. It meant I could then think about getting a vintage caravan, because having 2 caravans on and living on the road would just practically be impossible. But above all, there was one overriding factor that why I chose that we should come back to a house. And that is when I was having that really bad patch on the 1st of April, I'd come to a conclusion that I had been denying for a long time, for about 6 months. And that is that for me, caravanning was no longer fun. That was a problem. And if something's no longer fun, you stop doing it. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to stop making it my 24/7 existence, and once again rediscover the joy of caravanning. And the only way I could think of doing that was to take a step out of it, so that when I come back to it, I enjoy it. And in the 2 months since I've been here, I mean, we've been most of the time in the caravan, and I've been loving it because I'm not carrying everything with me. I've not got the weight of the world on my shoulders. And as that, it's actually given us a much lighter sense of being, and therefore I started enjoying it again, really very much, and that has been brilliant. So that's the reasons really why we have moved back to bricks and mortar for now. And just as a quick roundup, these are the takeaways that I really want to share with you if you are considering a full-time touring lifestyle. And they are, first of all, number 1, just do it. If you want to do it because it is amazing. If you're lucky enough to own your own home, I would strongly recommend that you consider renting it out more than overselling it, so you've always got somewhere to go back to, even if you have to wait a few months. Full-time touring has a shelf life. It could be for life, but maybe just look at it as a 5-year project. Slow down, go slow. Don't do what I did and tear around twice a week, because that is exhausting. So give yourself time to enjoy and appreciate what it is you're seeing, and so that you don't get overstimulated by all the beauty that there is out there. If you're working, just remember that even though you might be living in a caravan, you are not on holiday. Isolation. Be prepared for isolation, both from people who just don't get it, and from businesses, companies who also just don't get it and don't respect the fact that what you're talking about isn't just a leisure vehicle, it's your home. Plan B, have a plan B. If you get sick, or someone you're traveling with gets ill, or someone at home becomes ill, you need to go back and look after them. If something happens to your van, it gets written off or something like that, have a plan B. Make sure you have somewhere to go. And finally, when it stops being fun, stop. Just stop. Don't just do it because that's the label you've got. You've created this amazing lifestyle and all your friends are jealous because you're doing what they want to do, but you're not enjoying it. And if that's the case, say, you know what? I'm not a failure because it didn't work out. I am a success because I tried. So that's what it could mean to you if you are thinking of full-time touring, or you're doing it now and you're thinking about the future. What about the future of this YouTube channel? What about you, the viewer? What's in it for you? Well, I am delighted to say that nothing's really going to change. We're still going to go off, have lots of adventures, do lots of exciting stuff, and I don't see that you will see a lot of change. Now, admittedly, over the next few weeks, you might see a slight decrease in the amount of output from this channel. That's simply because we've got a lot of housekeeping to do. So the computer, I've got to get the whole thing just backed up, wiped, cleaned out, start again. I'm getting some new camera gear. I've got to get used to that. Also just a bit of rest, relaxation, and hopefully recharge the creative batteries. I also want to now spend some time, hopefully investing time in my blog, in my website, because that's been massively neglected for the past year or so. And I also want to work on a more creative film. I do these creative films sort of once every year or two, and I'm feeling it's about time I did another creative film, and they take a few weeks to get edited, to get filmed, to get edited, and to get out to you so you can see them. So as I say, other than that, nothing's really is going to change. We've got some exciting trips planned. I don't really want to say too much yet because, as I've hinted before, these things are prone to cancellation at the last minute. But yes, we are going to be heading away with Glynis again. We've got to get the upholstery done, hopefully going to Scotland, and then early next year we're looking at a couple of motorhome trips. So it's all very exciting, and I hope you stick with us. If you don't subscribe to the channel, please do click on the button and stay with us for the rest of the trips. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, you know what to do, folks. Please give us a thumbs up. It just now leaves me to say, from Dougal and from me, thanks for tuning in. Yeah. You happy to be home, Dougal? Are you happy to be back in the house? Are you happy? Are you happy? Happy? Are you? He never smiles.